One of the funniest things that happens to me in the clinic is when a patient hasn't come in for a couple of years and they don't remember seeing me. They come in and they ask, "Where's Dr. Portela?" And they're seeing me, but I look like a totally different person. And recently I lost 40 pounds in preparation for a physique competition, but before that I gained almost 60 pounds of muscle to prepare for that competition. So today I'm going to do a little AMA to answer some of the most commonly asked questions that I have gotten both from my patients and on social media about that transformation. What was the process like? How did I remain consistent in working for my goals? Back in 2019, I had been working out regularly at Orangetheory Fitness. I still love Orangetheory. It's a great workout and they have a lot of fanatics out there that are religious about attending their classes. Now, I had a great time at Orangetheory, but it was starting to get really hard for me. I just was losing motivation to get up and go. And if I was on call at the hospital and I had to go in late at night, I often would miss my class and I'd get charged. And overall, I just wasn't seeing the type of progress that I wanted to because I was getting burned out. And so around that time, I asked a friend for a recommendation on a personal trainer because I decided it was time to hit the gym. So here's what I looked like before I started lifting regularly. Now, I do want to share that I was happy with myself. So I did not approach this fitness journey with any level of like self-despisement or anything like that. I have loved working out for a long time, but I really didn't have a lot of experience on how to do that in the gym. I was a runner all through high school, even in college, and so I didn't know what to do when I went into the gym. So I hired a personal trainer back in 2019 and started lifting weights consistently. Initially, I was with him twice a week and then doing lifting on my own the other days of the week. And within the first 6 months, I had noticeable improvement. I went from about 170 pounds to about 185 pounds, and I was very happy with that progress. COVID hit and it became difficult to get into the gym. I got some home gym equipment and I kept working out at home under his guidance. After about another year of that, I felt like I was getting off track because with COVID, I wasn't able to get in the gym as regularly. And once kind of the regulations relaxed and the gyms were opening back up, I went back and started working out with my trainer in person. And that is one of the things that made the biggest difference for me is having that one-on-one instruction. And one of the biggest priorities that I had in working with a trainer is that I did not want to get injured. It was important for me as a surgeon to keep my hands healthy, to keep my back and my neck healthy so that I could continue to do the procedures that helped my clinic to run, that helped keep my employees working day in and day out, and that put food on the table for my family. So I found that working with a trainer helped me to accomplish the number one goal, which was to avoid getting injured, and number two, to reach the goals that I had set. Now, my goals were kind of soft at the beginning. I wanted to get stronger. I wanted to improve my bench press, my deadlift, my squat, and all of that. And we were working for that for a couple of years. My trainer did help to advise me on some supplements and other things that I felt were helpful in my journey. And that was one of the biggest questions that I got is, what kind of supplements did you take, doctor? So when it comes to supplementation in my weight training journey, I took creatine pretty regularly. The old thinking on creatine is that you needed to kind of preload it by taking 3 or 4 doses a day for 5 days, and then you could back off to 5 grams a day. And more research has shown that if you want to include creatine in your routine, you probably just need to start with 5 grams daily. It's easy to add that to a protein shake or to something else that you're making. It really doesn't add a lot of flavor. You can get different brands that have no flavor essentially. And so creatine I found essential. It helps to hydrate the muscles by pulling water into your muscles. It's been shown to also improve cognitive ability. There's really no downside to taking 5 grams of creatine daily. So that is one thing that I did that I recommend. My doctor also recommended that I take a vitamin D supplement, vitamin C, and I was doing those things as well. In addition to those supplements, I took protein shakes pretty regularly. I would have usually one with breakfast and one after a workout, and I used plant protein powders and I used whey protein powders. Just kind of, I didn't have a strict brand that I went with, but I got an extra 30 to 40 grams of protein in those shakes, probably twice a day on average. Now, for a while, I was just trying to gain weight put on muscle. So I really didn't do a good job tracking my macros. It just wasn't really in the goal that I had. But towards the end of 2022 and in the beginning of 2023, I decided that I wanted to do a physique competition. I'd been lifting for a while. I'd put on a lot of weight. I'd gotten to about 210 pounds at that point. And I decided that I wanted to set a goal and do something hard. And so that's when, with my trainer, we looked at the dates for the upcoming physique competitions. We decided that the one in June was probably too soon in order to do what I needed to do. And we picked the one in October. And so for the beginning of 2023, from about January through June, I went into what's called a bulk cycle. So I was getting a lot of protein, carbs, and fats every day, and I was lifting consistently 5 days a week. I didn't do a lot of cardio during that time, and over those 5 months, I put on about 30 more pounds. The top weight that I got to was 237 pounds, so almost 240 pounds after starting at about 170 pounds. So that was a huge difference, and you can see what I look like when I'm practicing some posing kind of at the end of my bulk cycle. Definitely was getting a little full in the face, and all of my clothes were fitting a lot tighter, but I knew that the cutting time was coming pretty soon. So in the beginning of June, we started what is called the cut. And if you've done bodybuilding or physique competitions, you know that the cut means you're going to start restricting your calories. And this is when I had to be really good at tracking my macros. So every day I would get into the MyFitnessPal app and I would track the proteins, carbs, and fats that I ate. And that got more restricted as time went closer to the show. So in the last couple of months before the show, I was at about 200 carbs a day. I was at 250 protein a day and about 50 to 70 fats, and that got lower and lower over time. And it became so important to track that on a day in and day out basis, and I reported that daily to my trainer. One of the questions that I got is, with all the travel that I do, how did I maintain my diet while I was traveling? Because during this time, I traveled to Singapore, I was in New York twice, and Los Angeles another 2 times. And so one of the things that I did is I would look up restaurants in the areas before I would go there and know where I could go to eat to get the healthiest foods available. And that was, of course, a little more challenging in Singapore, but it was actually pretty easy to do when I was in New York or Austin or LA. And what I ended up doing, especially in the last 2 months, is that I would find a meal prep service and have food delivered to my hotel room, keep it in the refrigerator, and warm it up. So it was kind of boring because I wasn't going out to eat with the rest of the group, but I would heat my own food up so I knew exactly how many carbs and proteins and fats that I was getting in every single meal. Now, that sacrifice was worth it to me because I had a specific goal in mind. But for most people, if you are traveling a lot and you're trying to meet a fitness goal, you can do some simple things to help improve the chances of success so that you don't binge for 3 or 4 days as you go on a trip. There are easy meal prep services. You can DoorDash them right to your hotel. I would call the hotel beforehand and let them know I'm having food delivered. Please put it in my room in a refrigerator or store it until I can get there. And the hotels were actually really great to work with on that. If you don't want to use a meal prep service, again, look up the restaurants in the areas and plan out what you're going to order so that when you get there, you're not put on the spot and instead of ordering the chicken and broccoli, you decide to order the French bread and the 12-layer lasagna and completely wreck your plan. Now that was kind of my diet plan, and as we got to the 2 weeks before the show, I dropped down to about 50 carbs a day, 200 protein, and about 50 fats. And that was certainly the most difficult time because I was used to eating a bit more carbohydrates. And what became so important during that time was my hydration. I know that a lot of people will restrict water and sodium as they come into a show, and I did not. For me, it was very important to stay well hydrated, and I added Element sodium packets to my water. So they have some flavors. I like the taste of them. Grapefruit is my favorite. And this helped me to improve my mental clarity and focus despite being in a carbohydrate deprived state. So hydration with the proper electrolytes was super critical in order for me to get to the goal that I had. I did get questions on like unexpected results of the diet, and I have to say that my mental focus, clarity, and overall mental health improved significantly as my diet got more clean. I definitely slept better, and I just had more focus and energy throughout the day, which kind of surprised me, honestly. I thought that I'd be a lot more upset, grumpy, and maybe I had my moments, but overall I was more effective at work, I was more present with my family, and I just felt a lot more focused from eating clean, healthy meals consistently. So that was a big surprise to me, and if you've gone through something like that, I'd be curious to know if you also felt those kind of benefits. I had a lot of questions about how did I have the time and the energy to do that, because I do have a family. I've got 3 kids. I work a full-time job as a dermatologist, and I'm doing a ton on social media. And so I got up early to get my workouts in every day. So I did modify my work schedule a little bit to allow me to start just a little later and end a little bit earlier, and just in preparation for the competition during the last couple of months. But I would get up at 5:30 and I would either get a lift in, or I'd get on the treadmill or the stair stepper, depending on what I needed to do. And then if I worked out with weights in the morning, I'd do my cardio in the afternoon, or vice versa. And I would just hit the gym on the way to work or on the way home from work. And if you are focused in the gym, if you go in there and you know what you need to do and you're not texting between every single set, you can get in and get a really effective workout done in 30 to 45 minutes. So I didn't have a ton of time, but I made sure that I went into the gym with purpose and got done exactly what I needed to do. And overall, it didn't have to take away too much from what I was doing at work or from my family time. Many people wanted to know how I was able to stay motivated, how I stayed consistent in my training. And I can't stress enough how valuable it was for me to have somebody that I needed to be accountable to in this. I do think it would have been so much more difficult if it was completely up to me, but having a personal trainer that was expecting me to do weigh-ins with him once a week and daily at home, and also to let him know what I was eating every single day, made a big difference. I also had a nutrition coach that was helping me to get the right foods when I was home and to make sure that I was ordering the right foods when I was on the road. And I know that's not a luxury that everybody would have in that situation, but as long as you have somebody that you can be accountable to, you're probably going to have more success in that journey. Because I knew that if I didn't get the workouts done or that I ate the wrong foods, I had to report that, and I had somebody that was going to be disappointed in me. I remember one time in particular, I had just gotten back from New York. I'd taken my whole family on a trip, and when we got back on Sunday, the next day was Monday, I was catching up on work, and I just was so tired. I didn't work out in the morning, and so when I got home from work, I was doing stuff with the kids, and my trainer had texted me and he said, "I know you just got back. How is the steps going, your cardio?" And I said, "I didn't get it done today, but I promise I'm going to do it tomorrow." And right then he's like, "Not good enough. You need to get it done if you're going to do this." And he sent me a motivational YouTube video, which was filled with like David Goggins and Jocko quotes. And he said, "Put your earbuds in, go for a run, and listen to this." And I was so mad at him at the time, but I did it. I put my earphones in, I turned on the audio from that video, and I took off running after I put my kids to bed. And that was kind of a transformative moment in the journey for me, because I realized I really did want this, and I really valued the accountability that my team was bringing me. And not only did I not want to let myself down, but I didn't want to let them down, because they were putting a lot of time into making sure that I was successful. So in order to stay motivated and to stay excited about that journey, having somebody that you can be accountable to, whether that's a trainer, whether that's a friend, whether that's a spouse, it's so helpful, and I can't stress it enough if you're starting your own fitness journey. Now, I had a lot of questions about workout tips for beginners. A lot of people want to improve their health, and you may not have the goal of competing in a physique competition. That was a goal that I didn't think I was going to have when I started my journey. I just wanted to feel better, and I wanted to look better. And so if you are just getting started on your journey, it's important to kind of outline what you want, and that's okay for that goal to change over time. And if you don't have a specific goal in mind, some things that I would recommend that you start is to do a couple days a week where you're doing moderate intensity cardiovascular exercise. That can be a brisk walk. One activity that I've started to incorporate more is rucking, which I have a backpack from GoRuck, and I have a 40-pound plate in there, and I cinch it up around my belt and over my shoulders, and I just walk, and it adds a little bit more stress without running, which causes extra stress on my joints, but it just makes it a little bit more difficult. So rucking is a great activity if you can't run. If you do like to run, absolutely go for a run. If you can only walk and you don't want to ruck, just improve your steps to 10 to 15,000 steps a day. And when you're really intentional about your steps, you will see improvement in your health. And so that's a great way to get started for beginners. Now, I do also recommend moderate strength training in order to reach your fitness goals. So you don't have to go to the gym. Nobody's going to get accidentally bulky in the gym. You have to really work hard for that. But if you can go in there, and whether you're using a free online plan or whether you get a plan from the gym or you do work with a certified personal trainer, you can do some lower body and upper body exercises. And if you're focused, you only need to be in there for 30 to 45 minutes and pick 2 or 3 exercises, do 2 to 4 sets each, and get through that. And you have to be patient to get those results. It's not going to happen overnight, but you are trying to build a lifestyle that's going to help you live healthier and to live longer. And if you're consistent with those things, it's going to be much better for you. Now, you don't have to become, Mr. Universe or anything, but just those little incremental steps every single day, you will notice a difference. And 6 months, 12 months later, you're going to look back at photos of yourself and you could be completely unrecognizable. And you're going to feel better mentally. And that's one of the biggest changes, because that momentum is contagious. And once you start that journey, you're going to continue that momentum and you're not going to want to stop. And it becomes a self-fulfilling type of endeavor. So those were some of the most common questions that I got. I hope some of that was helpful for you. If you have other questions, I'll be happy to do another AMA on my fitness routine. So just drop them in the comments below on this video. And thanks for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one.